Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday. It's time to talk about some new releases for this Friday, December 2nd. There's about 600 albums coming out this Friday. I got 12 to talk about today on my list. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you go check all those out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for our merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music weekly playlist that we put together, and also the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, there's about 600 albums coming out this Friday, and I'm only going to talk about 12 of them, though. So if there's something I don't talk about today, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what else you're looking forward to. And I will say, of these 12 albums I'm going to talk about, if you're not able to find any of them in your local record store, I'll put links to Amazon down below. They'll be available on there, so you can grab something if you can't find it in your brick and mortar store. So this week there's a big release coming out by the Beach Boys. This is Sail on Sailor 1972. So there's two different versions of this. There's a standard 2LP version, and then there's a super deluxe version. The 2LP version is going to run you around $48 online, and then the super deluxe version is going to run you about $180. So this is a new collection to celebrate the 50th anniversary release of Carl and the Passions and Holland, which were both albums that came out back in 1972, celebrating their 50th anniversary. But the 2LP version includes the 7-inch of Mount Vernon and Fairway, which I'm not familiar with that song at all, and which I guess hasn't been available since the 70s. And then the super deluxe version comes with the 2LP, the 7-inch, and also has a unreleased concert from Carnegie Hall from 72 on 3 LPs. So, $180. I'm kind of a casual kind of Beach Boys fan. I can probably do more. So I'm probably going to pick up more like compilations than something like this. But if you're a big Beach Boys fan, that's definitely a cool one to check out. And then the next one here is one that, even though it's kind of pricier, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. This is Neil Young, Harvest. He's releasing a super deluxe version of this album this week. It's going to run you about $130 online. Of course, the Harvest came out back in 1972, celebrating its 50th anniversary. And the super deluxe version contains the original album, a live concert from February of 71, so it's before Harvest came out. It also has outtakes, 2 DVDs, and a hardbound book. It looks like a really sweet kind of package. Like I said, I love Harvest. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. It's definitely my favorite Neil Young album. Even though this one, like I said, it's going to run you about $130. I might have to break down and buy that one just because it looks like a really cool kind of package. Music on Vinyl this week is releasing a limited edition version of Floored by Sugar Ray. It's going to run you about $34 online. Released back in 1997. It was Sugar Ray's second studio album. And this is on translucent green vinyl. It's limited to 2,000 numbered copies. Of course, Fly was the huge hit off that album. And with these music on vinyl releases, MOV tends to, I think, they typically kind of release these limited colored versions, and then eventually they'll release it on black vinyl. So if you miss out on the colored version, hopefully you can grab a copy down the line. And then there's also a reissue of No Secrets by Carly Simon coming out this week. It's her third studio album, released back in 1972. It's also celebrating its 50th anniversary, and this is on translucent blue vinyl. I didn't know this, but it actually spent 5 weeks as a Billboard #1. So I didn't realize. I know it was a big album. Of course, You're So Vain is a huge track off that album. So I didn't realize it was #1 for that long, though. So it's going to run you $37. Kind of pricey, I think, for that. You can probably pick up a used copy for probably half that price. But, if you're looking for a new reissue of it, if you like a good colored version of that album, it might be a good one to grab. Another album is celebrating a 50th anniversary release this week. This is Catch a Bullet 4 by Cat Stevens, which I didn't realize this is Cat Stevens' only #1 album here in the United States, which I was really kind of surprised by that. I figured at least T for the Tillerman would have been #1, but this is newly remastered. This was his 4th studio album, and this is going to run you about $30 online. So I'm actually not. I think I've only listened to this album a couple of times, and it's probably been 20 years since I have. But I need to go back and check that one out because I love Cat Stevens stuff. He's got some great music. And then this week you've also got Creed, My Own Prison, finally being released on vinyl. This is going to run you about $23 online. It was originally released back in 1997. Of course, it is Creed's debut album, and this is a 25th anniversary release of this. And there's multiple versions, I shouldn't say versions, there's multiple variants available online. I think the standard one on Amazon is black vinyl, but there's orange ones out there, and there's a couple other different colors. My Own Prison and What's This Life For were the two big tracks off that album. I know Creed is one of those bands that people like to punch on quite a bit. They're like, it's like they're probably one of those most hated bands I think of the last 25, 30 years. But their first album is actually really good. If you haven't listened to it in a while, make sure you go back and check it out. This week, Jamiroquai is releasing High Times, the singles. This was originally released back in 2006. This is a double LP. It's going to run you $40 online. This is the first time it's been available on vinyl. When it was released back in 2006, it was only released on CD. And this is they're releasing this now as a celebration of the band's 30th anniversary. So Jamiroquai is one of those bands I could do with just a greatest hits kind of compilation. So I'm definitely looking forward to picking that one up. And then this week you've also got Sponge's second album, Wax Ecstatic, being released. Great album. If you're only familiar with Rotting Pinata, definitely make sure you go check out Wax Ecstatic. This is going to run you about $35 online. It was released back in 1996. This is on Galaxy Beer and Black vinyl. I've seen a mock-up on it. It's like a brownish kind of color with some black swirl through it. It actually looks kind of cool. The version I've got is just a solid gold color. So I already have a copy of it, so I'll pass on this one. This one had never been available before on vinyl until earlier this year. I don't even remember who did did that release, but there was a black version and then that gold color that I've got. Wax Ecstatic and Have You Seen Mary were the two. I don't want to call them hits, but they're two bigger tracks that were on that album. They definitely got a lot of airplay with both of those. But like I said, if you're not familiar with this album, it is a really fantastic album. It's probably not as good as Rotting Pinata, but it's definitely up there. This week you got two big West Side Story releases coming out. The first one, this is the original Broadway cast recording from 1957, celebrating its 65th anniversary, and this is going to be on red translucent red vinyl. It's going to run you $40 online. Of course, West Side Story was a huge musical when it first came out. It was nominated for 6 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, back in 1958. It's probably been 25 plus years since I've heard that Broadway recording. So I should probably kind of go back and check it out. I'm not a huge musical fan, but I do love West Side Story. It's probably one of my favorite ones. And then the version I've got on vinyl is the original soundtrack, which is also being reissued this week. Released back in 1961. This is on gold vinyl. It's going to run you about $47 online. It's one of the most successful albums ever released. It spent an incredible 54 weeks, I think it was, at number 1 on the Billboard charts. Something that no album has ever done before and probably will never do ever again. So over the course of the last, probably a couple of months, Queen has been reissuing a lot of their albums. You got another one coming out this week. This is Sheer Heart Attack. This was originally released back in 1974. It's Queen's third studio album. This is a half-speed master. I know some of them have been half-speed mastered. Some of them have been like the standard 2011 reissue. So this is the same half-speed master that's in the Queen box set that came out a few years ago. Killer Queen was the big track off this album. It's probably one of my favorite Queen tracks. But this is going to run you $24 online if you're looking for a copy of that. And then the last one on the list is kind of an interesting kind of title. This is Frequency Unknown by Queensryche. It's going to run you about $35 online. It was released back in 2013. There's 3 different versions of this that are going to be available. There's a black version, a silver version, and then a purple version. I think the purple probably looks the best of the 3 colors, but kind of goes better, I think, with the cover. It's a double LP. The interesting thing about this album is, so back in 2012, there was Jeff Tate during one of their concerts, allegedly got in a physical altercation with a couple of the band members, and afterwards was fired from Queensryche. So he puts his new Queensryche together, and he'd filed an injunction to be able to keep on using the Queensryche name. So he puts this new band together, records Frequency Unknown, releases it in 2013, and then in 2014 lost his lawsuit and couldn't use the Queensryche name anymore. So after that, he changed the name from Queensryche to Operation Mindcrime. So when I see this being released as a Queensryche album, I was kind of a little surprised by that, because releasing Frequency Unknown, I don't know, it should kind of be still under that Operation Mindcrime name instead of Queensryche. So I don't know when he recorded this and lost that lawsuit, if the band Queensryche got to keep this album. So and that's why I said it's kind of interesting. It's kind of trying to find the I guess the lineage of where this album, who this album belongs to, is kind of interesting, because like I said, what's gone on in Queensryche over the last decade, I think is kind of unfortunate to a certain degree. But like I said before, with this release, I'm not sure who owns it, but you can drop me a comment down below if somebody out there knows, whether this is a Queensryche album, or if Jeff Tate was able to actually keep the rights to this album, but is still able to release it under the Queensryche name. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Like I said before, there's like 600 titles coming out this Friday. I only talked about 12 of them, so drop me a comment down below. Let me know what else you guys are looking forward to. I think there is some big stuff coming out this week. I'm definitely kind of going back and forth on that Harvest release. I already have a copy of Floored, so I'll pass on that one. I do have My Own Prison pre-ordered already. I got the orange variant pre-ordered, so definitely some really cool stuff coming out this week. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.